can trust, screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe, screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust, screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. In mind, but here we stand on opposing sides. Let's go to war. Let's go to war! We arm ourselves with the wrongs we've done, name them off one by one. Let's go to war! Let's go to war! Everything you say, everything you do, you push it in. And you cut me down. And you cut me down. Screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust. Screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. Do we feel safe? Do we feel safe? Hush, my baby, make no sound. Maybe we can wait each other out. It's a cold war. Let's go to war! With every settled score, I thought that fighting with meant fighting for. But you turn it around. But you turn it around. Screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust. Screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. Screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust. Screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. Do we feel safe? Do we feel safe? Do we feel safe? Do we censor? Do we flow? Are we drunk on the chemicals? Every feeling in my bones tells me to lash out and tell you fuck off. You got my heart and I've got your soul, but are we better off alone? With every battle we lose a little more. Remember everything that we died for. You are everything that I died for. Screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust. Screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. Screaming at the ones we love, like we forgot who we can trust. Screaming at the top of our lungs, on the ground where we feel safe. Do we feel safe? 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 Do you feel safe?
That's a good question. Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe in a Biden-Harris administration that is clearly just enriching themselves? That is a question you must ask yourself. It is the most corrupt move ever. What they are doing is despicable. They simply own you. And the faster you realize it, the faster you can fix it. Now, a lot of people don't seem to understand that ever since the corporate media and the corporations forced our elected officials, our government, to accept who they claim is the president of the United States. They have been coming in so quick, so fast, so fast. They have been coming in fast and hard to enter every single facet of our government operations. They are enriching themselves. They have moved it along, and we let them. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. All these years, more than half of you have not even bothered with politics. People were involved with politics while President Trump was acknowledged as the president, right? Acknowledged. And we can see a big difference in the way he was treated. Let me remind you of a dentist appointment. Now, that's how our military treats a president. And that is the difference between a president and a faux president. The respect, the power, and the fact that we felt safe. Something we don't have right now. This administration is not making anyone feel safe. In fact, it's doing just the opposite. Just the opposite. Because they can. Because what are you going to do? They have the megaphone. What are you going to do? They're going to put the boot on your face, and that's when you wake up. And I'm not speaking to all of you, because there's only a handful of you that really understand. It is really bad. This administration has not only bullied themselves in there with the use of the corporations that have pushed their way in there, but they're all in it to enrich themselves. You are no longer the consumer. You are the one being consumed. COVID. That, I was so excited to see someone say it. I was so excited to see someone say it. And I will put it on the screen. There we go. That, in fact, my friends, is what COVID stands for. Let me make it a little bit clearer. Now, how does that look? I was so proud to see someone post this on my own Facebook page. COVID, certificate of vaccination ID. COVID. Think about it. Coronavirus, COVID. Coronavirus, COVID. Which one does it? How do you get coronavirus from COVID? You see? The whole point of this sham was to put you on the books. And you'll be very disappointed when you see just how hard and fast they've come in. And how unfortunate it is that the president has been getting some really bad advice. Okay, so I'll show you how long we've been saying this. I found an old video. I did post it on Telegram for you guys to get a refresher. But we knew about these elections. We knew how they were going to come at the elections. We knew how they were going to take it. Why? Because they killed someone who actually had that information. Here we go. Here's a report from, wait, let me check from when? January 6, 2020. Okay, here we go.
Remember that footage of my phone being remotely controlled and hacked? Well, let's take a closer look. But this time, let's actually see what the conversation was, who it was with, to see what the hacker seems to be so interested in. What would anyone care about what Tori and I are communicating about in private conversations? To go so far as to hack my phone?
Why did they come to me now, 3 years later? I think I was pretty vocal. I heard the audio the day Seth Rich died. I repeat, I heard it. Why you come to me now? 3 years later, why? Oh, it's because of the election fraud. It's because I told the world what you didn't want them to know.
Oh, that. Well, that certainly explains why Tori received a subpoena in regards to a certain murdered DNC staffer. The DNC server debacle was never about Hillary or Podesta's emails, though those emails definitely revealed corruption and evil within the Democrat Party leadership at the time. The media's hyper-focus on the emails actually serves as cover.
You think it's just emails that a server holds on to? Come on, guys. It's got software programs. It's got firewalls. It's got passwords. It's got documents. It's got PDFs. It's got spreadsheets. It's got links to banking stuff. It's got links to how do you deploy stuff, deploying how to meddle with elections, deploying algorithms. A lot of that stuff is currently with a grand jury. And the only reason I had tangible was because I sent that off to acting attorney General Whitaker later. I'm pretty sure that the evidence or documents you seek are attached to the Awan case.
The real discovery was apparently election meddling software, memorandums of understanding, and commitments with other nations, collusion, bribes, and other nefarious activity, such as folders labeled insurance. In order to understand what really happened and how it pertains to these current events, we must first go back in time. On February 12, 2016, InfoWars reporter Richard Reeves filed a report where a Democrat superdelegate, Bob Mulholland, admitted on camera that the fix was in for Hillary Clinton.
Hillary is going to have a huge edge when it comes to superdelegates. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. March 1st is Super Tuesday. At the end of the day, you will see that Hillary has the most delegates of regular people from caucuses like Iowa, from New Hampshire primaries, Nevada, South Carolina, and then all those states on March 1st.
So it wasn't a surprise that on Super Tuesday of 2016, Hillary Clinton won the Democrat primary.
Big delegate day for Hillary Clinton. 449 delegates so far, still counting, to just 273 for Bernie Sanders. So if you look overall, she is starting to build up a serious lead over Bernie Sanders. It'll be very hard.
Has a bigger lead right now than Barack Obama had.
However, this is where the DNC insider who leaked the mirrored copy of the DNC server comes into play. Allegedly, this DNC staffer knew that the DNC had stolen the primary from Sanders and might have been upset.
We have won, at this point, 45% of pledged delegates, but we have only earned 7% of super delegates.
So I just wanted to say, I have been quite vocal about the software on election machines and the way elections are counted and done. This isn't news. Dominion isn't news. Right? All of them, ES&S, Dominion, Smartmatic, Heart InterCivic, you name it, they got the same damn code sitting in that trap door that's supposed to be offering you privacy. In fact, it encrypts your vote and decrypts it. But what they don't tell you is that within that encryption and decryption, right, it also gives instructions on how to decrypt. So it'll say 1 for Bernie means 1.5 for Hillary Clinton. That's how it is. All of them. Every single one of them. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm just showing you that this information they already knew. So while all of you put all your, eggs in the basket of former Trump administration persons, I'm going to tell you they misadvised them too. I'm going to show you that they all made some good money from this. And I'm going to show you just how deep this rabbit hole goes. I'm going to take you up the pyramid so you can see just a few more. I introduced you to the Truman National Security Institute / project / whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. But the frogs that are located in these machines are exactly the same too. And then you have to think, where's all the cybersecurity coming from? All these people are supposed to be doing such good. Well then, for every single action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. While the president was advised, hey, they're spying on you. Hey, this is happening. The president focused on getting all the little snitches and all the bad people out of the FBI and CIA and DNI, NSA, you name it. But the ones that were really in charge were left alone. And that all started with, hey, President Trump, someone's spying on you. I'm here to help. See, for every effective PSYOP, for every effective operation, you have to make it look like there's two sides. Just like they make it look like there's two sides on the political spectrum, when in fact, it's just one. For them, for us, the people, it should always be one, and that's us. So I'm going to show you how smart people enrich themselves with a shit ton of money. But before I do that, let's just watch a little bit more of this.
So in other words, the way the system works is you have establishment candidates who win virtually all of the superdelegates. It makes it hard for insurgent candidacies like ours to win.
Hey, what's not to be upset about? The realization that your elections are rigged. At the helm of this alleged primary election meddling was none other than former DNC chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is wrong because we have had these rules in place since 1984, and we have two types of delegates. We have the delegates that are pledged, that are elected by voters, or that represent voters based on the outcome, and then we have party leaders and other elected officials who have been in the trenches for a long time and who have a role, appropriately so, in choosing our party's nominee. And it's important to note that the unpledged delegates or super delegates have never played a role in actually selecting our party's nominee.
Who resigned from her position after WikiLeaks began publishing what a DNC staffer had allegedly leaked to them.
The chair of the DNC, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has announced her resignation. It comes after those leaked DNC emails. Bernie Sanders supporters say the emails prove the party favored Hillary Clinton all along.
Allegedly, it was in March that a DNC staffer started mirroring a copy of the DNC server. This individual was apparently trying to get evidence of the DNC stealing the primary from Sanders ahead of the Democratic National Convention in an attempt to save elections and democracy. By the end of March, beginning of April, the DNC knew their server had been mirrored. But by who? The law firm Perkins Coie, which is really indistinguishable from the DNC, blocked the FBI from getting the DNC server. And we can assume it's because there was incriminating evidence on the server. So they activated their assets and hired both Fusion GPS and CrowdStrike for damage control. They needed to find out who mirrored the DNC server and how, what they obtained from the server, and stop it from being leaked.
When we discovered the intrusion, we treated this like the serious incident it is and reached out to CrowdStrike immediately. Our team moved as quickly as possible to kick out the intruders and secure our network.
At the beginning of April, the Dems were certain Trump was behind it because CrowdStrike loaded software onto the server to determine where the hack came from.
It's the ability to rapidly install our technology. We see the tip of the breach being the endpoint. That's where the data resides, the servers, the endpoints, the desktops, and that's what we're protecting.
Only to discover it was a physical breach taken directly from the server, not a hack.
They didn't yet know if it was a breach. They asked us to come in and evaluate. And within 24 hours, we were able to ascertain with our software deployed on all their machines.
Still under the impression that Trump was behind the physical breach of the server, Fusion GPS started the oppositional research dossier as part of the parallel construction to get a FISA warrant on Trump.
In this case, a dossier on Donald Trump, probably the DNC has more information in its files on its servers than any other organization that's been researching Donald Trump for a year, pardon me.
Even though the spying on his campaign was already taking place to justify setting up the June 9th meeting at Trump Tower to see if they could find out which of Trump's people did it and how much they knew.
The big question tonight is, what did the president know about the meeting here at Trump Tower? And
where you see you are right over the target.
Now that we've put more light on this, we can get into why the DNC stole the primary from Bernie, why Hillary Clinton had to win the 2016 election at any cost, and why Donald Trump becoming president had to be stopped before he found out their dirtiest secret.
But that's not the dirtiest secret. So today I'm going to take you on a journey to see exactly how they are making bank on you. Now, we spoke about Ron Klain, right? We spoke about Ron Klain. We spoke about a lot of things. I actually found John Brennan's new company that everyone was talking about in 2020 because they got careless. Same players. Damn. It's like they don't care that you find them. Yeah, they don't care. So there's this company called Jacobs, right? Jacobs owns a lot of things. Oh, man, billions of dollars in contracts. I want to share this with you because I want to show you how this all started and how they all work together. And then we're like, Patriot. And it's like, no, you got duped. Jacobs and IronNet Cybersecurity Inc. form a partnership to offer collective cyber defense capabilities. Basically, they were bought out and their debt was paid, so they worked together. And this happened in March of 2021. Funny thing is that IronNet Security, right, got over $5 million in a small business loan, right, to help during the COVID crisis less than a year ago before their debt was paid, and they were paid. So it's kind of interesting, if you ask me, how this combined work is. Now, that's not Brennan's company. Don't get me wrong. It's not Jacobs. But Jacobs did buy a company that was bought by Jacobs in order to give them U.S. standing. And I'm not going to reveal the company yet. But you know what's funny? Symbolism is totally their downfall. So I'm just telling you it's linked to this, but it's not direct. I just wanted to show you how things work. So if I'm President Trump and I was just elected, and for some unforeseen reason, some divine intervention happened where they couldn't deploy any interference in the algorithms during the elections. Therefore, I won. Sort of fair and square, because he won by a landslide. Hillary Clinton did not even get the popular vote. That is a lie. They just were disabled to be able to do what they did with the Biden, thing where they would like pause it, break it, change it, alter it. But you know what? They used it as their advantage. They were like, we're going to piss people off so bad that they're going to pour out into the streets. They're going to take their guns. There's going to be bloodshed. We're going to collect everybody's guns and we're going to stick them in a hole and say, we're not going to have this again because we're the righteous government and you need to shut up. They were hoping on that, but that didn't happen. Right? Because we're a little bit more level-headed. Gun owners or responsible gun owners, we don't just go on shootouts. But they wanted that. So they used that to their advantage. Why? Well, it all started in November when President Trump got a visit. He got a visit to be told that, he's being spied on. Now, this could have been totally random, right? This is where you always have faith that it's totally random. But the one thing that's not random is what ensued later. Right? So what ensued later, a couple years later, makes me wonder and cock my head and say, well, that's funny. That seems super bizarre. So this is the company IronNet. They do cybersecurity. Their leadership team ranges from all these nice little people, right? And then their board of directors, so interesting. Keith Alexander, Don Dixon, Mike McConnell, Mike Rogers. Mike McConnell, former director of national intelligence, former director of national security under Obama and all of them, of course. Former chairman and House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Mike Rogers. We have Kleiner Perkins, managing partner. We have the chairman of the Institute of the Study of War. We've got General Keane, right? A former vice chief of staff for the U.S. Army. We also have Andre Pineda and Jen Jing, Vice Admiral, former Deputy Chief of Naval Operations Information Warfare, and Director of Naval Intelligence, U.S. Navy. Shoot. Look at all these people. They just got a big, fat $5.6 million small business loan, right? They got it. They're going after little guys, but they got it. Right? They got 5.6 million, and within a year, they were bought out by Jacobs. Less than a year of getting that loan. Less than a year, because they got the loan, was awarded to them in April of 2020. They were bought out February, March of 2020. This is fraud. This is how these guys got millions of dollars in their pocket. See, this is what they do. They go to good people. They drop off information. Oh, so accidentally they see it. It's kind of like the stuff I used to do when I wanted other nations to do what we wanted, and I was within their ranks. I would drop off magazines on pages reflecting, pom-poms, right? And then in the printer, I would forget pictures of pom-poms. And then I would have a video clip when they'd be playing on YouTube. I'd make sure that YouTube was showing them pictures of pom-poms in an advertisement. So that way, subliminally, they had already been primed to accept pom-poms. Then when we came in for the kill and said, hey, want to buy some pom-poms? They're like, you know what? Sure. I'd love that. Without even knowing. That's exactly how real reality hackers work. They give little and they prime you for it. So for the past 4 years, you have been primed. And unfortunately, the president of the United States, President Trump, was primed to not see how they were infiltrating. Misspoke? I don't know. Infiltrating. That's a new word. Tori just made that up. So I'm going to give you a hint. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm going to see Millie tomorrow, and I'm going to see how we can get this going really, really quick. The bottom line is these people have infiltrated every single rank, every single facet. Now I'll tell you how. So we spoke about Ron Klain, right? Let me show you who this Ron Klain dude really is, okay? Because I don't think a lot of you get it. I still have people saying, what about the children? Dude, you're not going to fix the children problem. You have these people infiltrating every single facet of our government. There's nothing you can do right now. If you're focusing your energy on that, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do. But I'm focusing on the fact of that you're not going to get anything done. They are in charge. They are everywhere. They are making money everywhere. So what you have to do is go for them. It looks pretty overwhelming, but I guarantee you on this that nothing is impossible. So here's Ron Klain's jobs. These are his jobs. This is what he did for a living. Let's see. I told you about this, but here he is working in the Judiciary. We're starting from the late 80s, 90s. Senate Judiciary Committee. He was chief of staff for the Office of the Attorney General under Clinton. He was chief of staff for the vice president under Clinton. He then went into private sector, Mulvaney, lobbying, of course. Then he went into Revolution LLC, which he still had up until 2020. There he starts off again. He co-founded that with Steve Case. And then he went back into government where he was working as chief of staff in the vice president's office. Well, these are all so weird. I'm just going to say it's so weird just to keep it. Case Holdings. Well, Steve Case and him founded Revolution LLC. So I guess he was working with him, lobbying and doing some stuff. Then he went in to the White House in 2014, 2015 as the Ebola czar. Then he worked with Revolution, Skull, Higher Ground Labs, Biden for president. Now he's the chief of staff at the White House. What? Now, if you look at these firms, Revolution, Skull, Higher Ground, you're going to come up with even more venture capital firms, crazy capital firms. Yeah, Steve Case of AOL, correct. Crazy capital firms. We're talking Pine. We're talking BlackRock. We're talking Blackstone. We're talking Rosenica. We're talking all of them. And they're all in bed together, every single one of them. And it's like, what's happening? They're making a ton of money off of you. A ton of money off of you. They don't care about you. They are making a ton of money off of you. That is what is happening. There is no way you can't see this. I mean, it's so blatant. There's no way you can't see this. It's so blatant. They have infiltrated every facet. Kamala Harris, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Ron Klain. We're talking his staff. All you have to do, and I said this before, is follow the money. Follow the money. And it's as if sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a wall, but indeed, this will, be the way you're going to find everything. The Soros Foundation, we had reported how they gleefully stated that Mr. Soros, they got about $4 million from the Open Society Foundation. Well, the thing is, Open Society was giving money to pro-Biden super PACs like Priorities USA, like American Bridge, Unite the Country. That's $55 million they pumped into Biden's pro-Biden things. That's how you buy elections. They got into Black PAC, Sunrise Movement. They were spending so much money. They were all 501c3s, 501c4s. 1630 was another one that doesn't even disclose their donor names, but it was damn Soros. Okay. All of them. Even Politico had reported back in 2019 that 1630 got $137 million from undisclosed sources. Again, this links back to who? I feel sometimes, that, remember Daniel Jones, who created the Penn Quarterly Group? I feel sometimes that I circle back so many times to things that I've written, and I can't help but feel that, there is no honest media out there. There is no honest media. It's disgusting. There is no honest media at all. $33 million was one of the largest donation a company that is tax exempt called 1630 got out of the $137 million. And apparently it came from their parent nonprofit called the New Venture Fund. Want to guess who else is part of this new damn venture fund? Oh my gosh. That's what's crazy. We've got generals. Goes back to Arabella Network, another Democratic PAC. It's the most insane thing. The most insane thing. I mean, how is this even allowed? This is emoluments on steroids. They thought they had President Trump locked in. Where are the people in the House and the Senate filing these cases? Where are they to break up this Rico Suave? This is the biggest point of infiltration ever. And it started with one guy focusing on the corruption and chasing their tail. Listen, bottom line is, he didn't have to talk about it. He could have just acted and fired them all. But instead, we responded. Instead, we ate into it. Instead, our president was focused on that because they kept hog tying him because he fought back. It was like quicksand. See, if he had a Tory under his desk, Tory would have said, fire the fuck out of everyone. Tell him I don't care what you have to say. The media is not going to have anything to report on. That's what I would have said. And then I would have perp walked every single one of them because I know the way they work. And the thing is, no matter how much mitigation is done by people, by reporters, by investigative journalists or whistleblowers like me and Patrick, unfortunately, they will ensure that we are silenced. They are ensuring that we are silenced at all times. They psyop the whole world for an ID. Do you remember the last time you were psyoped and you forfeit all your rights to privacy? Yeah, that was 9/11. This is the same thing. They're psyoping you to get your DNA code on file. 9/11 was the first time. This, the certificate of vaccination ID, is the second time. This is where you forfeit your most precious identification ever, your DNA. Your DNA. And this is exactly what was done. The vaccine, it's just a kicker for them. A lot more fun to control the size of the population. We could talk about Pine Island Capital Partners that actually help fund that $33 million into this charity that doesn't have to disclose anybody, right? It was actually formed in part by Secretary Blinken, who is Secretary Blinken, and Michelle Flonnery. And they were acting as a venture capital firm that lobbies for companies in the defense sector. He has now gotten all these people that have funded the election theft into his office. And they're all making a shit ton of money out of it. You think they're not going to force you to get a COVID passport? You think because the laws stand, what did they say? Oh, well, that has to start with it has to start with the private companies because we have tools in office. Like I even saw my response from the AG saying, well, we're not going to let it happen in federal and state places. No, you're not. But I want you to enforce the freaking state laws to make sure that Walmart can't do it and Starbucks can't do it. Because if they try it, they can't do business here. You know, it is so disgusting to see it. Did you know that in 2013, Spark Cognition received $163 million from Verizon Ventures and Boeing and March Capital? And they made a shit ton of profit from one of their major companies. Do you know who that is? talked about it a lot. It's that Ukrainian company, Crowd freaking Strike. This has been their plan all along. Super whistleblower, been saying this all along, and I've just been getting roadblocked and roadblocked and roadblocked and roadblocked. Well, here it is. You guys need to chip into this. This has been a long-standing plan to take away your freedom on paper. On paper. This is what is disgusting. On paper, Spark Cognition, stop. Pine Island, stop. All of these freaking clowns are now in the cabinet. Emoluments clause, hello. Domestic and foreign, hello. Can we get this going? Can we start moving along? It's so insane. Did you know that Biden's energy pick, right? Energy pick. She spent $60 million lobbying to elect Biden. $60 million to influence our elections. And now she gets to be his energy. Damn. It's like, how much more blatant do they have to do? Do they have to wear a sign for you to see it? Because, I've been very patient with the media and these so-called, I'm like so for the people, I'm a patriot and I decode and I don't know all my stuff. And I got super insiders. Let me tell you, you got nothing. Your insiders have been outsiders for a very long time because the inside information you give is not really inside information. It's bullshit. Okay? This is real inside information. This is information where they all sat down and they're going to get each other done together. So Granholm raised a shit ton of funds to influence our election. $60 million. She bought herself a seat in his cabinet. Do you see how that works? You could buy yourself a seat in the cabinet because you can. American Bridge, 21st century. She was the senior advisor and the media watchdog. You mean censorship, and spent $60 million censoring people to influence the election. But yet we had the libtards for 4 years pouncing off $150,000 in ad revenue by some Russian supposed people that supposedly swayed the whole election. But here we have $60 million and nobody's talking about it. It's okay. It's totally okay. Totally fine. New Venture Fund, Arabella, Pine. Oh, can we keep going? State Capitol, State Street, whatever. So many of them. They're all the same damn company. When are we going to go down to Orange Street in Delaware and just pull those records? I mean, how long do we have to wait to get that done? How long? Does someone have to commit a crime and break in and get it? How long? It is the most insane thing. Turkish defense, right? Biden, right? Both Hunter and Joe have great ties to these big lobbying firms. I mean, you spend 60 millions on lobbying for media moderation and fact checking. You get yourself a spot as, Secretary of Energy. But Capitol Council has worked with TAI, which works with Greenberg Traurig, and they were the ones, this is according to FARA stuff, right? They were the ones that, influenced and lobbied to get a renewed contract for the Turkish defense company TAI. I mean, it's the most insane thing. Like, these people are buying their way into everything. They have everything. We have Pelosi. So I showed you how, that one company, Iron Security, got, COVID loans. Well, what about Pelosi? Pelosi's done it too. Rioff, XX LLC, commercial real estate. She has a ton. She got a ton of loans too. Well, what's going on? We have Revolution LLC pushing for everything. They're the ones that own Clear. They're pushing for these coronavirus passports. They're going to make a shit ton of money. One from the apps. Wait a minute. You want to hear something even crazier? Did you know that Revolution LLC, well, the company, Skoll Foundation, which is with Revolution LLC, was actually invested in, by Jeff Bezos, right? And that Higher Ground Labs actually got money from Walmart. These are all corporation funded, owned, driven companies. They have taken over our government. Our government are the corporations. And until you realize that these idiots that you think are in elected office are actually doing something, oh man, I can't believe you guys still think that. There are people that actually think that Kamala Harris and Biden, that they all, are politicians and that these senators and Congress people are actually doing something. If they were actually effective, they'd be blamed for a lot of stuff like kitty diddling, money laundering. They usually get them with schmear campaigns, right? That's the thing. Schmear campaigns. Corporations. That's who you need to look at. Corporations. You are now good. You are now consumed. You are no longer the consumer. You make them money and therefore they own you. Tell me that it's different. And it's going to be down to your DNA. So the next thing they can do is make sure you're walking, typing, reading, doing, because they'll be right inside you. Oh, we won't check. We'll just check to make sure that where you're working remotely, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and not slacking off so that we can pay you. That's exactly it. Far-fetched? Far-fetched? I don't think so. Everybody who has put money into swaying the 2020 election, like the Biden Fight Fund, right, has gotten a position within his cabinet. Generals, admirals, big mega donors. So crazy. Paloma Partners. Have we talked about that? About Sussman? I think, I didn't talk about it with you guys. I was on a show in another country because I do guest shows in other languages in other countries. I just don't advertise them all the time, right? It's foreign speaking, so you know what I mean? But he bought a shit ton of oil and gas companies. He did. Occidental Petroleum, he bought tons of shares. So you have to think, he killed our ability to be energy independent, but his people and the companies that he's linked with are buying a lot of oil stocks and energy stocks. It makes you think, what is really going on here? I am very confused. How is this happening? I'll tell you how it's happening. They're letting them do it. They're letting them take over our nation. They're letting them. And that's what sucks. The sooner you realize you are not free, the faster we can fix this. The faster we can fix it. If you can realize that you are not free. So, let's take a listen to this report. I mean, Epoch Times did pretty good on this. And it's a nice recap of that's what's up. And how other states are hiding nursing home data too. I thought it was quite fascinating. Quite fascinating that I know we're looking at New York. But I'll tell you what, damn, here we go.
The Biden administration is ending another Trump-era immigration rule. It announced yesterday it will now accept certain immigration applications, even if they aren't completely filled out.
The Biden administration announced Thursday it will end a Trump-era rule that automatically rejected certain immigration applications. During the Trump administration, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services would reject applications for asylum or immigration benefits when a blank space was left on the forms. Examples of fields that might be left blank include middle name, passport, or travel document number, and other names used.